crowd from trying to make them afraid that that is the case. Joining us now is Congressman Joe Sestak, a Democrat from Pennsylvania. He serves on the House Armed Services Committee. He's a retired U.S. Navy Rear Admiral. He's the highest-ranking former military officer to serve in Congress, and he is running against Senator Arlen Specter in the Democratic primary for Senate. Congressman Sestak, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Rachel. Good to be back.
We have already seen anti-healthcare reform people going after seniors, trying to make senior citizens afraid about healthcare reform. What's your reaction to this effort to target veterans?
I'm very disappointed. That bill, that wonderful bill we've moved through my committee out of Education and Labor, states very explicitly that TRICARE for our active and retired military, and that the veterans who and their dependents that are in the VA, as well as those dependents in TRICARE, that remains a solid system with no changes. You know, not only that, but President Obama's budget is going to also restore what we call the Priority 8 veterans to the VA system. Back in 2003, the Bush administration kicked out over 265,000 veterans out of the Veterans Administration who happened to earn a bit over $34,000 for a family of two. Now it's 500,000 that are denied, and President Obama's budget in the next 4 years brings them all back in. Not only does it preserve the system for our veterans, it enhances the system for our veterans.
It seems like the White House knew this was coming. We have seen Congressman Beyer been making noise about this issue. The White House proactively put out that video from the White House Veterans Director. We see the president has on his schedule on Monday he's going to be addressing the VFW in Arizona. The White House seems to expect that this is going to be politicized, that veterans are going to try to be frightened. We have seen a lot of veterans speaking out at healthcare reform events, not necessarily just about veterans issues, but about the other things that have been used to scare people. Does it take a certain type of person, a certain type of politics, to try to exploit veterans in particular to be afraid here?
It does. Quite frankly, I'm disappointed. Anybody who reads Section 202 of this bill should know very comfortably that our veterans are taken care of. Very simply. I'm so glad to see the White House is really on its game with this. I'm actually going to be having a veteran summit tomorrow here in Philadelphia and fly to Pittsburgh and have another one there where we're going to talk over this issue. This word has got to get out to those veterans that if this president is determined to do anything, it's take care of vets. And I'm not just saying that. He has got an 11% increase in the Veterans Administration over the next 5 years. That's the largest increase in the history of the Veterans Administration. We are very grateful to have him as our Commander-in-Chief.
Well, let's get down to nitty-gritty here, because I know we hear from a lot of veterans who watch the show. We know we have a big veterans audience. We tried to prioritize veterans issues on the show whenever we can. The nitty-gritty here, the specific allegation is that veterans getting VA health care would be subjected to a tax that might be levied against people who were uninsured. And what the White House says is that the legislation that passed, as you say, through your committee, exempts people who are covered under the VA from having to meet that mandate. Can you, as somebody who is responsible for that bill passing, can you confirm that that's true? There's not going to be any tax on anybody for their VA benefits.
I can absolutely confirm it, and the exact words are that the VA health care plan meets the minimal acceptable requirements, which means it's exempt from that 2.5% tax that they're talking about. It states it just like that.
Do you have advice for the president in terms of his address to the VFW on Monday? He's going to be speaking. That's a relatively politicized group among veterans groups. They've been among those who have been making some noise around the edges about this issue. How do you think that he should address it when he talks to them on Monday?
Mr. President, do what you always do. State the facts, calmly, deliberately. These men and women do believe in a commander-in-chief. And, Mr. President, continue to fight, because our VA has been so underfunded. $2 billion in 2003, $2 billion in 2004, $2 billion in 2005, $2 billion in 2006. And the veterans know that. And I just think he needs to continue to pound away. That, Mr. President, just state the facts. Veterans love this country, and they respect the Commander-in-Chief when he just states the facts.
Congressman Joe Sestak, who is running against Senator Arlen Specter in the Democratic primary for Senate in the great state of Pennsylvania. Good luck with your Veterans Summits this weekend. Thanks very much for your time tonight, sir.
Thanks for having me,
Great
Rachel.
to see you.